Hello there and welcome to another video about the program GpsPrune. In the earlier videos we looked at how to create a track when you're planning to go on a trip. Today I'll show you what happens after the trip, using GpsPrune to look at the track you recorded as you went. The GPS receiver I'm using is connected by USB, and so the storage just looks like a USB stick or another mounted drive. So to load the data I can just use the regular open file function. Now we can see that I've got not just one day trip but several. For now, I'm only interested in this one, to the northeast. So I need to delete these other ones here. I can use different tricks for this. One way is to draw a rectangle around all the points I don't want. These points are then marked, and I can choose to delete them. So now I've just got this one loop left, which is exactly what I want. And now the altitude profile just shows this single trip too. But before we go further I'll undo that, so I can show a couple more ways to do the same thing. I can click on a point in the trip I want, and use the Control and Page Up keys to go back to the start of the segment. I can see from the altitude profile when I've got to the start of this trip. Now, to delete all the points before this, I can go back one point with Control and Left, and then set the range end. If I delete this range, then I'll be left with just the trip I want. Or alternatively, I can go back to the start of this last trip, select Range Start, and then crop the track to the selection. That gives me the same result as before. Okay, just let me show one more way to do this. I undo the delete and select to delete points by date. It shows me a list of all the dates in the track, and I can choose which ones to keep. I select to delete them all, and then just keep the last one, from the 13th. Then I delete the mark points, and I get just the points from the date or dates I chose. Brilliant! So now we've got the trip data, let's have a look. We can see that the track already looks pretty good, not too noisy. I'd like to know how far I went, so I select the whole track. On the right I can see the distance, the time taken, the climb and the average speed. I can also get more information from the Full Details panel, which tells me more about the pace, maximum speed, gradients and segments. Here I've got 3 segments, because I stopped recording when I took breaks. Another thing I can do is to compare the recorded track with the one I prepared in advance. This is also still stored in the receiver. So I can open this file too in the same way and append it to the current track. In this case the recorded one is blue and the planned one is red. There are also 3 waypoints shown with circles. Obviously I didn't end up doing that loop at the top. So I can see where the paths differ, especially when I zoom in. Now I want to keep the waypoints, but I don't need those red planned segments anymore, so I can delete them. I can delete whole ranges, or delete single points. Selecting the current segment and then deleting the range is a quick way to do it. Note that I've still got those waypoints, which I want to keep. They are shown in the panel on the left, and the number of files is now 2. Now let's do some pruning. Apparently I went the wrong way in the forest and then came back. I'd like to delete that bit. I can select this detour by clicking a point, then shift-clicking a second point to define the range, then just delete the range to chop it off. And you can keep doing that to prune off any other bits of the track you don't want. Or of course delete single points as before. I've also got a bit of a mess at the end when I forgot to turn off the recording, so the measurements just jump around. Again, I can simply select the range which I want to delete and then delete it. I think you get the idea. It depends a lot how noisy the data is, especially if it's a thick forest or a narrow valley. I might also consider compressing the track if I have a lot of noise, but this one looks okay. Good, so let's imagine we've done all our pruning and deleting, and we're ready to see what it looks like in 3D. Just like in the previous two videos, we choose to show terrain, and choose which map to use. It takes a little while to build up the model. And now we can spin the model around to see where we went and relive the trip. Wow, cool cliffs. Very nice. So what have we done? We've got our recorded data, we've combined it with some waypoints from another file, and we've cleaned it up. I think it's time to save it. Saving as a GPX file is one good option, so we can keep the track with all its details. But what if I want to publish this track? Maybe I want to redact some information, like the times and dates. First I select the whole track, then delete the values of the field, time. Now when I look at a range or a point, I don't get the date and time anymore, and all the speed information is gone too. So I can export as a second GPX file, this time without that information. In this case I could have done the same thing using the checkbox for include timestamps. But the delete field values command is a useful one to know anyway. I select where I want to save the file to, and I'll choose my home directory. And that's it. Of course we might want to edit the published file a bit differently too, like compressing it more, or reorganizing it. That's up to you. So we've seen a lot of different functions here, and I hope you've seen some new ones. Thanks for watching.